Welcome to the Inspired Father podcast, where we celebrate the extraordinary journey of fatherhood. I'm your host, Wesley Rhoads. Join us as we bring heartfelt, empowering stories from fathers all around the world, the joys and challenges to the triumphs and lessons learned. This podcast is a beacon of inspiration for every dad out there. So let's embark on that adventure of fatherhood together and get inspired. All right, Aaren, welcome back, Inspired Father. Let's deep dive right back into this thing. Sound good?
Sounds great. Thanks for having me back.
You bet. All right, let's start it off with the equipment. You were saying that your previous answer on equipment, gear that you just couldn't live without, that you wanted to some things have come up.
It has. I think when you say equipment, my first thought is like outdoor or something to like be active.
Yeah.
But then whenever you gave your answer as the baby born bouncer, yeah, we have one of those. So yeah, it's a great thing. I think the one thing with both of our kids that I think was the best piece of equipment that we've used was actually the snoo sleeper. Have you heard of that?
What is it called?
A snoo, SNOO.
Okay.
It's a smart sleeper, so it's only good from like newborn to like 6 months.
Okay.
But what it does is it actually trains your kid to like sleep and be able to soothe himself.
What?
And you also have the peace of mind that like they're safe because they're strapped in. It comes with a built-in swaddle that all you have to do is like put their arms in and zip them up. And they're in there, and what it does is actually, if your child starts crying or being a little fussy and wakes up a little bit, it rocks them gently, and it makes like a white noise sound in there, to like almost like the sound of the womb. And it's actually like with both of our kids. I mean, it was at the point after a couple of weeks we were having to wake them up throughout the night to feed them because we knew we couldn't let them go long. Because otherwise it would just totally screw everything up. So I think that's my one thing that I've told everybody, that like this is one thing that like we couldn't live without, because it really helped us be able to sleep.
Yeah. No, thanks. That tip's about 6 months late, but
they're not cheap. So like it's not something that you're just gonna run out like quickly. It's something that you definitely need to plan. But I think if you're going in, there's ways to like rent them now.
Yeah, okay.
We bought one with our first, and we've used it with our second. And we actually like it's to the point that when we travel, we actually rent them if we're staying someplace, just the peace of mind, just so they sleep.
Nice.
That's a good, yeah.
That's awesome. No, fortunately ours are doing pretty good now. We put them down really early though. We put them down about 6 o'clock. And then they make it to usually 5, sometimes 5:30.
That's great. I would like that. I mean, it gives us down between 8 and 9, and he wakes up fires.
So it gives us a couple hours in the evening to, just be the two of us, and that's some pretty cherished time that Chastity and I really. It's kind of a non-negotiable for us that we want to spend at least a couple nights just hanging out, being real people. Because how it is with kids, it can be a grind, and it's good to kind of not lose your spouse.
Yes, and I agree. You need that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're pretty intentional about that as well.
Try to be.
Yeah.
Try to be as much as we can. I mean, I'm not saying that we're the best at doing that, but we've definitely put steps in place to try to be as intentional to like keep.
And it sounds like the community that you're in as well is very conducive for that. Just kind of having the help close by, that would be super helpful.
Yeah.
And then no shortage of really good food around, so that's also good.
It always helps.
We wear out the same 3 or 4 restaurants. I think we're actually getting one of our
one of our go-tos tonight.
Hey, I get that. When we were moving from Carmel to back to the South Bay or Southern California, we were staying in Huntington Beach, and I think towards the end of stay, we were probably there about 3 or 4 months between like just trying to find a place. And
Right.
I get running through those like regular places. I think we probably ate at like the same places every week. It was like 3 or 4 places we ate at every week. And we at first they were great, but towards that end of the stay in Huntington Beach, we were so excited. I think to the point that when we moved in here, we rarely go out to eat just because we were just tired of eating out so much. Because it was like that transition period and like we didn't have any of our stuff. The place we were staying didn't have like a full completed kitchen. So like it was just uncomfortable. Like we didn't want to go out and buy pots and pans just so we could cook. So it like really wore us out.
No doubt.
So
no doubt.
But it's nice moving someplace new and having new places to try out.
Absolutely. Going back to when you were in high school or younger, just comparing yourself to what you hope for your children, is there anything that comes to the top of your head that you feel like maybe had you had some sort of guide along the way that had helped you navigate that time in your life, that maybe you could have had the experience that you had in college maybe a little bit sooner? Or do you feel like the way that it happened for you, that you wouldn't go back? Obviously you wouldn't go back and change it because it would change where you're, the butterfly effect, but is there a way that you can maybe help give a better experience, or like change that transition from childhood to becoming an adult?
This is something that I have thought about a lot.
Okay.
This isn't something that like, this isn't a question that you're bringing up with I haven't thought about how I want to like raise my kids and what I want to like contribute to them.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I think I want to bring, there's actually two. One is like making sure that they're accountable for what they're doing, and ensuring that they understand that I want to have an expectation for them, and I want them to try their best to get up.
Yeah.
I don't want them to just be able to just easily like fly through life. I want to set up like that groundwork up front, that you need to be accountable for the actions that you take, and the actions that you take now will affect the future. I mean, it's not going to be that complex for like a high schooler or a middle schooler, but like I'm going to incorporate that somewhat.
Yeah, of course.
And the second, I clicked on the tangent with that and I forgot what the second one was. So I think just having that accountability and just being there to help motivate them, or like give them the support that they need to just show that they can do this.
Yeah.
I want them to know that they have support. I mean, I want them to be motivated and be self-accountable, but I also want to have some support behind them to be like, you can do this. You just need to put your head. And I actually do this a lot with Sawyer now.
Okay.
With just kind of like whenever he's struggling with something, I want him to know that I'm there to help, but I first want him to try a couple ways to like do something. And I think the best way to describe this is I taught him how to like somewhat climb, and he just like climbs all over everything. Now he just like climbs up onto a kitchen counter, but it wasn't always like that. And what I would do is like he would get frustrated when he couldn't do something, so I would step back and I would tell him to try it again. Just try it one more time. And then after that first time, I might give you some pointers on maybe you need to put your hand here. Maybe you need to do this. Maybe you need to do that. And like just giving him a chance to like try, then also giving him some like hints on what he needs to look out for, instead of just being like, you need to do this. But like maybe being like, hey, I can try this or I can try that. And I think by doing that, I've already helped him like kind of trigger in his mind, like, how can think about like what I'm doing and maybe try something else.
Yeah.
And it came to the point that when he is frustrated, I mean, he's frustrated every day,
Yeah.
but I tell him to take a deep breath and like try something different. And like, probably 50-50, try something different or he doesn't, but at least he's like starting to develop those skills and being able to think, okay, that's not working, let's try something.
Interesting. So when you say try something different, so let's talk about like climbing. If it's not going well or whatever, when you say try something different, does that mean like completely switch tasks, or does that mean
no, just like,
way?
Okay, let's give an example. He climbs up onto the counter and like can't figure out how to get down, so he's like trying one thing, and then I was like, take a deep breath, try it again, because like the way he was doing it, he could have done it. But then I was like, then I tell him like, okay, what can we do a little bit different? Maybe get on your stomach and like slide down from your stomach instead on your butt. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So like just getting in his head that like, okay, this isn't working. Maybe if I make slight adjustments, I can make it work.
Gotcha. Now, do you ever do any type of modeling to where like you don't say anything, but like he sees you do something and then he models it himself?
No, but that might work.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that, but it's normally like he's head first. He's very active. So he's a busy boy. So it's normally like there's not a chance to do that, but I want to put that into my like tool belt, and I'm definitely going to use that.
For sure. Because something we've noticed is Chastity, she does aerial silks as well as yoga. And she also has a lyra, which is like a hoop that hangs. And she'll do different types of kind of Cirque du Soleil movements with that, which obviously the kids can't do. But then she also has like these little weights that she'll do, like she'll work out in the living room with those. And the kids, they'll like go pick up the little 2-pound weights and like try to mimic what she's doing. And then both Sebastian and Serafina, they will like do downward dog, and then they'll like plant their head and like almost do a headstand because they see her do it and then they try to mimic it. And then I'm part of a group in the mornings that we meet and do boot camp style workouts called F3.
We talked about it last time.
Yeah. And they see me doing that, and they don't model anything from it yet, but I think the modeling is very, very effective.
Yeah. No, it would be. And like he definitely picks up on stuff like that, but it's just I was thinking more in the context of like when he's like pushing himself to do something that like he hasn't really figured out how to.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But we discovered that like recently, like he's definitely doing everything we do. So it's like we definitely have to watch what you say and do.
That's right. Yeah, but that's definitely something that will be coming up for us. I'm excited to hear how that develops. And then I have a unique perspective as well, because in training people to fly, just learning how to tailor the message so that they can receive it. Because if I say something and then what they try to do doesn't quite fit the mold, I'm like, okay, it's not that I said it incorrectly, it's just that the message didn't get received right on that end. So it's really nice to be able to use that. And then I'm kind of looking forward as to, okay, I'm going to try to give a lesson to the kids, and they may not be able to receive it right, but then it's just a matter of kind of repackaging it and trying it again.
Yeah.
So that'll be really interesting. So basically giving them standards to live up to. Do you feel like you didn't have standards growing up? or
Really?
like the expectation wasn't
The
clear?
expectation wasn't as high as it should have been.
Okay. How so?
I'm really good at getting by at like bare minimum. So I really need that like standard to be set high to
Yeah.
like to push myself.
Okay.
And I think it wasn't until later on that I like started uh, holding myself accountable. That's when
Uh-huh.
through like college, and I think that's when it really changed. College, and then after college, like when I moved to Colorado and started like and just made like new friends out
Yeah.
there, and like I think having those peers at like these higher levels and like surrounding myself with like I always once I got out of Huntington and moved to Colorado,
Yeah.
my goal was and out of Denver and then Tasking. My goal was always to surround myself where I was probably one of like the dumbest people, not like dumb, but like I didn't want to be the smartest person. I would rather be the dumbest person in the room than the smartest person.
Right.
Because if I'm with those people, I'm gonna be self-accountable and I'm definitely gonna hold myself at a higher level.
Right.
And then
Right.
soon I'm just gonna believe like this is where I belong. And
Gotcha.
this is what I need. This is where I need to be. So I always surrounded myself with those, and they always brought me up to another level, and they definitely like raised my intelligence just always a little bit. So
Exactly. So two thoughts come from that. One's like all ships rise in a high tide, and then your friends, I've heard a couple sayings around like you're the sum of the five people you spend the most time around, which I think that it sounds like that applies to your situation. But another one that's really interesting is that you associate this with the move from Huntington to Colorado. And I can definitely see that because in one, right, like just there's a different category of or a different caliber that is more readily accessible of people in Colorado than in Huntington. In Huntington, there are definitely some really good people. Don't get me wrong, but it's very difficult to break into those cliques because it is a smaller community. There's not as many like high performing individuals. And then especially in like a school, like coming up as a child in that environment, you kind of get not stuck with, but you kind of come up with this group of people and you only have to do so much in order to really shine in that group of people. But it sounds like when you changed your environment, it really opened you up to different it opened you up to change, and then it sounds like it could have been due to the caliber of people that you surrounded yourself with.
I think yeah, it's a combination of both. I think once I moved to Colorado, like my first goal was like never say no to anything. Like I could think I need to do them. And the more people I met, and it was just open myself up to like more who I really was, and it really helped me to. It's another change, like developing point in my life. It's like it really helped me like groom into the person that I am today.
Yeah.
Another step. It, from just having that group of friends that like we shared the same interests and we did the same things and like we all push each other and having that great support system. It's really nice to have. And like I still talk to all those people like great. Try to at least, but having that those peers all same age technically but I like it and just perfectly with them. And it was great to have that group of friends and like it really helped me be the person I am.
For sure. And then another thing on the environment change. So I can't remember exactly where, but there was a study around heroin use. And it's a good way to start this one off, right? And so people that get addicted to heroin, like it's very difficult to come off of it, right? It's a very addictive drug. However, when Vietnam veterans were studied, and there was a strikingly large number of, or percentage of, Vietnam vets that tried heroin when they were in Vietnam, right? But then when they came back to the United States, I think only like 10 to 15% of those continued to use heroin, when I think it's like something crazy like 80 or 90% of first time heroin users stateside continue to use it and become addicted. And it's attributed to that change in environment. So like when you change that environment, you change those triggers and signals that kind of call you to a certain action. Same thing can be true with pretty much anything in your life. And it sounds like you really made it an effort that you're like, okay, I'm leaving this environment, and then when I go here, like, this is how it's going to be, and I'm not going to go back to my old self. Like the bar is moving from here to here.
Yeah. And by doing that, I mean, like I said, I never said no to anything. I wanted to have new experiences. I really wanted to figure out what I was all about. And by doing that, it like introduced me to a group of friends, and it was my group of friends in Colorado that really just brought that bar to another level.
Yeah.
Because they were also packed. It was just nice to be around such passionate people.
Yeah.
That were all driving. And it wasn't as much like passionate towards like driving towards like a career, but just like passionate towards life and like living life to the fullest.
Yeah.
And
skiing, mountain biking, stand up,
just being in nature, yes, doing those things, and like just being around like Olympians that live there, and it was just like being around like these caliber of people, and then like
chasing down George and Kathy.
Yes, it was like, and Lance Armstrong was there, and
Yeah.
but it not only was that, but like it was called the Aspen Institute, and they would bring in like speakers from around the world, and like top politicians would come and like speak there. So it was, I always involved myself in things like that, like doing all these little things, like it really opened my mind to like a new level.
Yeah. So let's take ourselves out of like ourselves, right? And think about our dad avatar that may be stuck in that hypothetical rut. He's got a couple kids, and it's just kind of means to an end, but not really living life to the fullest. What advice would you give to that guy on changing his situation?
Reassess the way you're looking at it. If you're a dad, you feel like you're in a rut, you're not going to be a dad. You're going to be a dad forever, but like the stage that you're in with your kids, it's so finite.
Yeah.
When you realize that like this time that I'm just like sitting here, I'm not like going out and like doing what I did in my 20s or like did before I met my wife or like before we had kids. But if you think about it as like this point in time, you'll never be able to recreate it.
Yeah.
Unless you have another kid, then like that's another story. But like right now, like having our kids is just, if you realize that like this time we have with them right now is the only time we're ever going to have. Like you have the next like 5 until they're like 5 or 6, and then they change, and then whenever they become teenagers, then it's even less time with them, and then when they go to college, it's even less time. And then they get married, and then you might see them once or twice a year. So like if you feel like you're in a rut, just realize like this isn't going to last forever, and like enjoy these moments. And it came to the point that I never was the person to like take pictures with my phone and go like do all that, because I want to enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
But it's came to the point that I try to record as much as I can with like, oh, just a quick video of my wife's doing something with our kids, even if it's just walking down the street. Like, I take a video of it just to like, I want to be able to remember this one day and look back
Sure.
and like, when our son just learned to walk, or like is now walking everywhere, or just like he runs over and grabs a pink tutu and puts it on. Like, I want to remember all this.
Oh, exactly.
And I want to be able to look back and like see them instead of just, because memories, they come and go, but like some of these things I might, if I have a video, I might look back and take this, be like, oh, do you remember this? Or
Exactly. Go down memory lane together.
yeah, but I think I think for somebody that feels like they're in a rut, they're just like the never ending, like this is all. Just remember, it's like it's finite. So
Do you feel like do you feel like a change of environment could help those guys?
So
like
truth,
to kind of combine what you just said, so reframe. What I heard you say was to kind of reframe the situation where it's like, okay, realize I only have 18 years, and you can break that down into months and days, and then
right.
and then when you figure out, like you said, they go off to college, and then you might get 7 days. Well, from the time that like their senior year in high school, that same amount of time, to get that amount of time back with them is going to take like 30 years in the future to get that many days to spend with them versus like just their senior year. And then when you reframe it that way, it's like, okay, this is important. Like I need to figure this stuff out. And so if you kind of in my head, if you kind of combine that with your change in environment, do you feel like that would have a big impact?
I think it's like different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
And I think personally, I lived enough and realized enough that it's not, yes, we talked about like changing the environment throughout like my past, but I think that was because the focus was on like truly self-development and truly getting experiences. But when it comes to like being in that rut and like just thinking that life's just like never ending, or just like it's just like the same, it's Groundhog's Day every day.
Yeah.
I think by changing your environment, you're just throwing you're just throwing a band-aid on a huge cut, and like you're not fixing really anything.
Gotcha.
So I think it really does start up in your head.
Yeah.
And it's realizing and not saying this is easy, and not saying that like, oh, you just flip a switch and like you start realizing this, but it's like making those baby steps to like appreciate the little things, and the more little things that you appreciate, the more you'll realize how special this time is. Because I've just seen personally, like part of the reason I've moved all up and down California is because it was just like, this wasn't right or that wasn't right, and trying to trade scenarios, and changing those scenarios never worked. And it's like no matter where you go, it's the same problems. It's just a different place. Especially when you have kids and a family. Because like changing your location, what's changing? The outside stuff, not the stuff going on inside. And not the stuff that's going on day to day. So changing your scenario, it's really not gonna make a difference on like what's going on.
I'm really glad that you went there, because I was going to go there next with your move from Colorado to California, and then the moves around, to ask you if like each time you did you like make another standard for yourself that you decided to keep. But it sounds like you basically just realized that these problems are just going to kind of follow me anywhere that I go, and if I don't just deal with them and figure out how to get it right in my own head, it's just going to be the same thing in the new place.
It was, and it was try to change the words. So the moves, when I had my baby, I want to like there's outside baby, work on my effect, because all I wanted was the best for my wife. So the new place was for our family and the best for our family at some point. And moving from place to place, our family didn't change. It was the outside. So it's little things that want where you doesn't really matter if you have a big family. But like because like it's like if you focus on your family and like that's all you like really focus on. So by moving all around, it just like it's like we're famous stuff where we are, but like moving all around did not change any of the problems that we had at the prior. Sorry, that was long-winded.
Yeah.
But it was just all comes down to like it really comes down to like what's your focus.
Comes down to what?
What you're focusing.
Okay.
Like what upstairs you're focusing on that's making this seem like a drag.
Yeah. Gotcha.
If you're thinking of like the day to day, it's all the same. But if you're thinking of the little things and like you appreciate the little things, like your mind will trick yourself into like thinking that like this is a great thing instead of just like when you wake up, you're just like, oh, another day instead of like waking up. Oh, I get another thing.
Yeah. You've been listening to the Inspired Father podcast. My name is Wesley Rhoads. Thanks for listening. The only thing that I could ask of you guys right now is that you subscribe and share this with somebody who you think could benefit from these messages. Thanks again for listening and enjoy the rest of the show. Is there anything that you've noticed with or any like aha moments that you and your wife have had around your kids where maybe something shifted from being a real drag to like something that you really look forward to, or maybe just a little thing that like in your day-to-day you now notice, or maybe you made a change, I don't know, that like you just really look forward to just with the day-to-day and your kids?
I think I can answer this with my wife. I think when we lived in Carmel, first it was just the two of us, my wife and I, and Sawyer.
Yeah.
And I think at one point we found this fantastic thing that would come a couple of days a week, 2 or 3 days a week, and Alison always felt pressure to leave the house. And I think after about a week or so of just like leaving the house a few days a week, and like she just realized that like, hey, she missed being around us, and like because at first it was there so she could have a little free time to herself, but I think she realized then that she doesn't want to pay somebody just to like help raise her kids. She wants to be able to like be there to appreciate those times. And I think just her stepping away made her realize that.
Gotcha.
No, I didn't answer the question. Like I didn't know. I was
so just like a little bit of space.
I think so.
Helped to realize that.
Yeah, I think that sums it up the best. Just having that little space makes you appreciate the time that you're having. And I think it's the same thing with like your partner. I think sometimes you just need that little space away from each other. And
that's true for sure. Because our pastor in West Virginia actually talked about this. Is like, he counted up the number of minutes a day that he spent with his wife, and it's like, yeah, even though it's our 50th anniversary, like we've really only spent 2 weeks and 4 days together, in that time or something like that. And it's like, oh, when you say it that way, that makes sense. But then if you're spending a ton of time with somebody, you naturally just need your space to think a little bit. And then if you have kids, like, what it's like when you're just constantly having to be on. But then when you're able to step away for, 30 minutes to an hour, even sometimes just that little bit of time, just complete shift and be like, oh, you know what? Like, I really do like I'm looking forward to getting back in front of those little guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. So with like, would you say that you have a pretty good work-life balance now, or what does that mean to you if not, if you don't like that term?
No, it's a great term. And I
Yeah.
think my struggle mostly is like I have too much life and not enough work balance. Like I think that's being home with like the family all day long, working
Yeah.
remotely. Like I hope my like employer's not listening to this or it never does, because like I definitely take advantage of like the home time and and like where who I work for, they definitely like they prioritize that to like make sure that you have like a good work-life balance. And like every time I have a meeting, like they always ask how everything's going. And I think in my first evaluation, it was actually one thing I needed to work on is actually working on my work-life balance and like figuring out how to like separate work and life so I can like focus on one or the other, or focus on work.
Uh-huh.
So I think I have the complete opposite of like having to like have most, and I really appreciate that, and I know I have that. But yeah, I think my work-life balance is like I think I have it like as good as it could be right now, unless I'm so.
Yeah. And then you kind of had to, I don't know how you ended up in the job that you currently are doing, but you had to make some big sacrifices when, at least it seems that way, whenever Sawyer was born and deciding to move, and because you had a pretty stable, sweet job set up in Colorado, and then seemed like you had to move. Is that, you have anything to add to that?
I did. It was a great. I had a great opportunity. It was working for an older guy that lived in Aspen that like owned and managed commercial real estate, and he was just very old school. So like I knew moving, which I always put my family number one, and that's why I made the move, because I wanted to like first I'm and but I definitely put my family first. And when I was leaving, I met with the partner at the firm that I'm at now, and I told him, I was like, given this for the person I was working for, like we're giving this a try, but I'm telling you, there's like a 95% chance this isn't going to work out because I know how it is.
Yeah.
So we had that dialogue. We had a lunch before I moved, actually, and we stayed in touch. And then I lost the job at where I was just because it wasn't working out. They needed another person in the office. It was a small place. And there was a big law of just like not working. It was a struggle because we were moving, and it was a lot of moving parts, and it was just tough to be employed during that time and not having income.
Right.
But being able to like by taking that time and not just rushing into like the first thing in the long change, keeping that communication with like where I'm looking now. I would say I am so glad I did that because of the people that I work with now. Like just the work-life balance that like they preach and they like want you to have.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I wanted to keep some tie. I worked for an accounting firm in Aspen, and they just being able to work for an organization such as that, because they struggle to keep people or have people, because it's a tough place to live.
Yeah.
You really want to live there. You really want to live there. Otherwise, it's just like, why are you living there if you don't really want to?
Right.
So they really push to have like that work-life balance to retain employees. So
yeah,
I'm glad I made it. It's the better option. It's probably one of the better positions I've ever had.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's cool that you were able to have the idea and the vision of what you wanted moving into it versus like having to like just jump into the first thing that became available. And then to be able to have that real conversation with your employer ahead of time, it sounds like that really made a difference.
Yeah.
And just just setting the expectations up front. Super cool. So when do you feel like, do you guys have like a really like regimented routine now, or are you a little bit more free flowing?
With our kids or with work?
With your kids.
Uh, with our kids, I can't lie, we're extremely free flowing. It's like Sawyer goes to bed when we do, and like Hunter goes to bed. I mean, it's just, it really depends. We have no routine. I mean, we try to give Sawyer's at the point that we like try to give him a nap, but like the only way to get him to fall asleep is if my wife takes him for a walk in the stroller, which is just a pain a lot of times. So like we've tried both, and it's just like personally, but like life, it's just a lot easier to just let it go and like not be regimented, because like if you travel, it's like then you have to stay on these regiments, and like we've went out and like we've done like play dates, and like some kids have to leave early because it's like it's nap time at 3, so we have to leave at 2:30, and like it was just like let the kids play, and like that's if you start from the beginning just like really having no routine, like they don't know routine, so it's just like they just go with the flow. They're very easy to deal with if you don't keep them on this like set schedule. But like if you do have them on a set schedule and you like something happens and you can't keep them to that schedule, it really messes stuff up. So we decided to like let's try to just be free flowing and let it see what happens.
You feel like it's working pretty good?
It's working great for us.
Sweet.
I mean, we don't get like time like you guys do in the evening. So like there's pros and cons to both. So I'm not saying that like one works, one doesn't. It's just like it's whatever works for you. Like do your best, and whatever makes life the easiest, go with it.
Exactly. No, I like that. And then you talked about traveling. Do you guys go on a lot of trips together? Have you done anything as crazy as like multi-day camping or anything wild like that?
We've never really done any camping, like multi-day trips like that. We
haven't either.
I mean, if it was more accessible where we live, we might have. But I mean, we've definitely like done some big travel. We've flown international with them, or at least
nice.
Yeah. So
how'd that go?
Actually, that trip, Alison's flown a couple of times. She's flown when she was pregnant with Hunter. She flew with Sawyer to the Netherlands because that's where her sister lives.
Okay.
And that wasn't as successful.
Oh boy.
When we flew there together, it was actually it wasn't too bad. The problem is like if you don't have two people and they're like on an 8-hour flight, you have to stay up because like you don't know when they're gonna wake up. So like that was first run. But like when we flew over there together, it was like one of us had Sawyer and then the other one was asleep. So but like by yourself, like you have to be up and you have to be alert because like if Sawyer gets up and starts walking around and you're sleeping, like you can't have that. But I think
why is the door open to the plane?
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think the worst experience, we flew to Aspen for my job, or for a wedding in September.
Okay.
So like it was the first time we flew with the 3 of or both of us. It was the 4 of us. And Sawyer was just like, started off like, first off, I'd like to like clarify, we've never connected. Like it's all been direct flights, right?
Okay.
We can't bring ourselves to connect yet.
Oh boy.
Not sure if it would work.
Yeah.
But when we flew to Aspen recently, which is like a 2-hour flight, it was the most. I mean, Sawyer was just a terror on that.
Oh no.
He hit a point. Well, the flight was delayed an hour, so there puts us like an hour. Like, well, we didn't plan for this, so like we're running out of snacks. We're running out like iPad time will only last so long. So like that kind of like put us behind. And then when we got on the flight, he has this water bottle with like flip top, and like, well, what happens then whenever you go up, the pressure changes. So like when he opened the top, the squirt of water all over the people in front of us.
Oh no.
So like they were like horrified at first because like if you're on a flight and you just get drenched with water, you don't know what that is. So I think traveling, we've definitely had great experiences we've had that. So and it doesn't matter if it's an 8-hour flight or a 2-hour flight. Just traveling stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. I heard a good saying once. It's if you can't have a good outcome, have a good story. It sounds like you've got that.
We have plenty.
Yeah. And then what about like on location? Like once you get to those places, or places that you're going, whether it's to visit family, go to a wedding, that kind of thing. Does that work out pretty good for you? And is it something that is an enjoyable experience, or is it still pretty tough?
I think our kids sleep better at other places than they do probably at home. So like that's always enjoyable. But like it's like you go someplace, same thing, different. I mean, no matter if you're here or there, it's like you're still dealing with the same stuff. I was trying to think of the positives. It's like we sleep better. So like we get to sleep in a little bit. We get to go because like they're busier and they're like doing stuff. So like when they get back to the hotel, they like conk out. So So I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it's just like when you're traveling, like it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be a relaxing vacation. It's a different vacation, but it's like a fun vacation because you're with your kids.
Yeah. So. And then what about when you're around family? Have you noticed any? You're obviously not the main attraction anymore. We've noticed that. But have you noticed anything with family members in and around, like how they treat you? Maybe some realizations that you've had about your parents and growing up. And you're like, okay, now this makes sense, or it's like, oh no, my parents did this. Like I'm gonna do this better. Any realizations around that?
I think it's a combination of both, and it kind of springs from the conversations we've had earlier.
Yeah.
And I think it's like you definitely see when they're around, it's a little more clear the things that they do that you're like, okay, that makes sense why I like this or that, or I do this or I do that. And I think we live in such a different environment now than like such people who grew up. I think it's definitely opened my eyes to like new ways to like tackle problems or like
nice. Yeah.
So I think it's definitely been a learning procedure or a learning experience every time we get around family.
Yeah. But any of those relationships like you feel have gotten better or changed, or just the realizations from like how family members interact with your kids maybe change your opinion on somebody, or kind of give somebody a second chance at doing something differently or better or worse or whatever?
I think it's definitely choose my words wisely here again. I think it's really opened my eyes on the way people actually apply.
Ooh, interesting.
And I think it's been quite a struggle with certain family members, because I mean it was just like the COVID thing, and it's not as easy to travel, and we're not like close to people.
Yeah.
And I think there's been a bit of jealousy from one side or the other.
Okay.
Of like the amount of time that we've actually been able to spend with them. So it's been a struggle to allocate time in an efficient way that is also best for our family.
Gotcha.
So it's definitely, we've had to do some assessing, and it's really like opened my eyes to like certain traits that I've heard about but never experienced.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
And You've done a
So
really good job of not throwing anybody under the bus with your answer there. I like that.
try my best.
What's that?
I tried my best, even though they probably never listen to this. I'm not going to do it.
Exactly. No, I like that, and I could draw some parallels as well, because everybody wants to have that time with the new kids, and if they don't feel like they're getting their fair share or whatever, it definitely sometimes it can bring out the true colors for sure.
Yeah.
With yeah, I'd say a big one for us is we want our kids to eat really clean. And when we travel, especially with certain, not certain, most family members, there's different dietary expectations. And so I feel like that is going to be a big ongoing battle. It's like whenever we travel the family and, trying to keep the kids on like a really good, on like a somewhat clean diet and just not go down this, we're eating foods that may taste good but not be so good for you. We hope that we can keep them on the diet that we've set and they don't get too derailed whenever we travel.
We do the same thing. So like we definitely we have that expectation, and it you're not the only strong that one. Like we definitely grandparents always try to push a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it's you have to pick your battles almost at that point. So yeah, hey, you're not the only one with that. It's definitely something that we have dealt with, and that's one of the things that we try to push with Sawyer. It's we try to it's a very picky eater, but the funny thing is the two favorite things that he eats is he loves a hand roll.
A what?
A hand roll, like a sushi hand roll, but the seaweed on the outside.
Oh, nice.
That's not cut. Yeah, we go to sushi places and he'll eat 2 or 3 of those. You're what? You wouldn't eat anything at home, or would you eat these? And he also he loves that. He loves lasagna, and he loves In-N-Out burgers. That's a treat. That's not something that we feed him regularly. But he won't eat a regular hamburger, but an In-N-Out burger he'll devour. It's
nice.
Crazy.
That's funny.
So I get trying to be and we try our best, but Sawyer's so picky that you could throw most things in front of him. He's probably not gonna try.
Yeah, we're lucky. I think our kids will try. Just not try. They'll eat pretty much anything you put in front of them.
Sawyer used to be that way, but he's at a point in the past 6 months or so that it's you feel are you eating enough? How can you just withstand on a couple crackers all day or have a peanut butter sandwich?
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I hope that we
just
can keep it going because it's gonna happen. We're
try. It's gonna happen. I promise.
Yeah.
Because Sawyer was the same way. He would try everything and he would enjoy it. But now oh God, he's so big.
Yeah. Oh man, that's tough.
But it's he's picky in a good way. He's he doesn't eat sweets or he likes a little sweet, but he not too much. I think the first time he's really had candy was this Halloween, and he would take a bite of something and spit it out. So I think maybe doing something right.
There you go. I got a friend that he pays his kid for each piece of candy that he gives him. Or he buys their candy back from them or something.
Oh, that's great.
That he buys it back.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I like that. Let's talk about legacy. What does legacy mean to you?
I want my kids to take away that life isn't easy. And you have to work for what you want. It's not just handouts. I don't want them to think that you're just given what you want. I want them to know that you have to work for what you get.
Yeah.
And I want them to know that if you work hard and you put everything towards it, you can get almost anything you want out of life. The
Yeah.
choice of to put it out there. And I want them to know, to see with the way that I want to see, I want them to see how like their mom and I like, trying to figure out the best way to say this. I'm just trying to get them to just want to live by example. And I want them to like want to live up to like to be just like be just like I want them to like look back and be like, this is how I was.
Yeah.
And I want my legacy to be like, I am proud that that's my dad.
Yeah.
And I want to be just like, not saying that I'm not like that with my dad, and like I've definitely been hard on him, and like I definitely like our relationships since even my father still been changed.
Yeah. But I think if you use what you just said as the glass or the lens through which you live your life as a father, like I don't think that anything bad is going to come from that, you know.
No.
Like I don't think you could come to your children with any ill intentions if that's the lens through which you're looking at fatherhood.
Right.
So I think that's super cool. And then talking about hard work oftentimes gets related to discipline, and then discipline in both like being disciplined and then, you know, self-motivated, that kind of thing, as well as like discipline as far as like coming from somebody else, like a parent authority figure, like you have to discipline your children. So if you want to talk about just your ideas around discipline, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
That's I think that's something that like Alison and I have both, we aren't sure about it. Like,
Okay.
luckily we haven't had to get to the point that like we really have to discipline too much. Talking about what? That's like I haven't, right? But I think we've kind of came to the realization that like, I got Peter kids, so that's insane.
Yeah.
And but it's just I think when Sawyer does something that he's not supposed to, we let him know that it's not acceptable.
Okay.
And we try to explain why, and we try to get to the root of like, why did he do that? What was his problem? Because a lot of times it's just he's a little frustrated and he's acting out because he wants some attention and it's not going the way that he wants.
Right.
So we kind of got to the point that we really like try to focus on like, why is he acting like it? What's going on? Like trying to talk to him, trying to get him to calm down.
Yeah.
Instead of just like beating them or like reinforcing that. Like then I'm not trying to like reinforce. Instead of like reinforcing, don't do this, maybe like do this instead. Like, why do you need to do this? Like, dude, this is what should happen. And like trying to show him like it doesn't always have to be. But I think it comes down to like the discipline part, like we haven't really had to deal with, and like we try to come at it as more of like a supportive, like what's going on, like why are you doing this? Yeah.
That's
and so far with Sawyer, it's worked pretty well.
Yeah, that's cool. And then modeling discipline as well, like self-discipline, that kind of thing. Like you said, they're going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Super cool. So moving forward, I like to do this thing with guests and ask them for the challenge for our dads that are listening. And this is going to be the challenge that they're going to have to do from now until the next one. So
I've thought about this. I know where you're going.
Okay, perfect.
And like I have my challenge. And I want dads to play with their kids at eye level. If you're a baby, if you have a baby and it's just laying around, get down and lay on the ground with them.
Okay.
If you have a toddler, sit down on your butt or like lay down and like be at their eye level below. And I've read this or I listened to this thing that like you'll get a different interaction with your kids if you do that. Because otherwise, like you're always that authoritarian that's like above them. You feel like you're playing with them and you're like above them, so they're always looking up. But like be at eye level with them or be below them a little bit and like interact with them at that level and just see like how it changes, like the way that they play and like the connection that you have. So
eye level play. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something easy that everybody can do, right?
Yeah. No, I like that. And if your kid happens to be a foot taller than you, you get some stilts and
you have to have stilts.
That's awesome. No, cool. Eye level play. I like it. Yeah. And then is there any other pieces of wisdom that you'd like to share or resources that you'd like to share with our audience that have really helped you or you believe could help other people?
Well, no, I don't have one off the top of my head.
No worries
about that. Like, cause like I kind of got it from like all over the place. And probably like my one thing that like I get the most ideas is like I follow a lot of that stuff on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yes, but besides that, there's not one specific thing. So
no worries.
I know I'm letting everybody down, but like,
not at all. We've gotten a lot of good conversation here. I think people will really gain a lot from this, and I know I certainly have.
I think I've just been rambling on, so like I apologize up front if you don't. But
inspiration comes from different places.
Exactly.
If I love it.
If one person gets something out of it, like you made my day. So I'm glad I could.
Absolutely. And then on that note, if somebody's gotten something out of this conversation that they're just like, you know what, it sounds like Aaren is in exactly the same boat as I am, or like we're very similar in some way, or like I really like this. Is there a best way for somebody to get in contact with you?
I would say email. I'm not on social media, even though I like brought up Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, I am like so sporadic on that these days. I've kind of made it my intention not to be on like social media, just so I can like look more like my family. But like my email, aarenr@me.com. So aarenr@me.com.
Got it. All right, we'll link that up. Perfect. And then Aaren, I just want to thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. I appreciate you as a friend, and this is so cool. And just I hope you know that I got your back anytime that you need it. And I can't wait to get all the little ones together and go skiing or hiking or just hang out.
Exactly. Well, Wes, thank you for having me. This has been great. And if you ever want to have me again, I can be part 3.
Heck yeah, let's do it.
Maybe Aaren, down the road. We'll like see how it all works out.
I know. Yeah, we can get some feedback as we go.
And maybe we could bring in our mutual friend Ryan. I mean, Ryan, I'm calling you out. If you don't want to come on by yourself, I'll come on with you.
The funny thing is,
dad three-way talk.
Funny thing is, he called while we were interviewing here, so I think that's his sign.
Oh, it's his sign telling me he needs to be on now.
Exactly. All right, Aaren, thank you so much.
Thanks, Wes.
Inspired Fathers. My name is Wesley Rhoads, and you've been listening to the Inspired Father podcast. I hope you found inspiration from this episode, and also hope that you'll subscribe and join us next time on the Inspired Father podcast.